Hi there. This is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about uncoupling protein keeps you warm and makes brown fat. Okay, you should understand this physiology. When you were born, most of your fat, at least maybe half of it, was brown fat. And what makes brown fat? Brown fat is fat cells chock full of mitochondria, which make them look brown. White fat have very few mitochondria, and they aren't burning much energy. They're just storing energy. But brown fat has a lot of mitochondria, and they are burning energy. And why are they burning energy? They have turned on uncoupling protein. And uncoupling protein is a unique set of proteins. There's actually a bunch of them that basically, instead of putting energy molecules into and high energy electrons into the whole process of making ATP, if you've already used up all ATP and there's no place to go, then you have to switch on something to say, how do we let the steam off this engine, this little hot engine? And you turn on uncoupling protein, and that allows energetic electrons to escape as heat. So instead of making a reactive oxygen species and damaging the cell, that's a backup mechanism when you have too much energy. And you've experienced that when you've eaten Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner, and you've eaten the 4,500 calories all in one sitting, and then you had ice cream. And you wake up at 2 in the morning, you're so hot you throw all the blankets off. Your body's turning on uncoupling proteins because there's too many calories trying to fit in, and you're sitting there trying to be asleep. And so your body protectively throws off heat to get rid of all those extra calories. Now you also put on some weight too. But that uncoupling protein is designed also to make you warm. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Before we had civilization and clothing, if you were exposed to cold, you better start turning on heat. In fact, Magellan described, when he went around the world, he described the natives in Tierra del Fuego off the Magellan Strait as being stark naked in an Arctic environment. It didn't seem to be cold. So what happens if you have cold exposure? Well, that's what this week's study reviews. You can take a study at NIH, take young men, and expose them to 66 degrees in their bedroom. Not 70, 66. Not miserably cold, just cool. Standard pajamas and sheet, no change in clothing. So first they had to sleep there at the standard temperature, and then they were exposed to 1 month of 66 degrees. Slightly cool, just enough to make them feel chilly. After 1 month, they'd had a 40% increase in their brown fat. Their body had gotten used to it. You know that happens to you, because you get to October and that first frost comes along and you're freezing cold. You have to bundle up with clothing. But by the time you've gotten to January, a 22 degree doesn't feel too bad. You get out in the sun, says, this feels balmy. You've gotten used to the cold temperature. You've probably made some brown fat. And where's the brown fat in you? Actually, in medical school, when you do a cadaver, don't find much brown fat, because we live in 70 degrees all the time and never expose ourselves to cold. But it's between your shoulder blades and the middle part of your chest. In fact, it was and sort of high up around your neck. And it was found with the advent of this PET scan that finds metabolically active tissue that's burning glucose. That's what discovered the first brown fat. And we now realize it's there in adults, it's just in its tiny form. In newborns, 50% brown fat. Well, that's because a newborn has to keep itself warm. It's just gotten out of a nice, mild climate in its mom's tummy where temperature was 98.4 all the time. And a newborn then gets born, and son of a gun, they have to be ready for the cold, which is why we wrap up babies and keep them warm and be very careful to protect them. But as soon as we keep them warm, there's no impetus for the brown fat to make energy, so they go to making white fat. And white fat doesn't make energy, doesn't keep you warm. It'd be interesting to get a PET scan of Wim Hof, wouldn't it? The man who's made every record on this planet for swimming across cold places. He's gotten so used to ice water that he can swim for miles in ice water and not show damage, something we'd have trouble doing. But you can induce your own brown fat by just turning down the temperature in your bedroom and getting used to sleeping with a bit of a chill. In 1 month, 40% increase. And that means you've got fat that's burning calories 24/7. Guess what that means for weight loss? Yeah, so you're burning some calories in weight loss and you're keeping yourself warm. Take that sweater off, get used to being a little cold, and just get used to living in a colder environment. Your body has to warm you up and burn fat around the clock. Brown fat keeps you warm. Uncoupling protein drives that engine. All about mitochondria. Dr. John Whitcomb, News and Nutrition.